Your compensation planning system. This is presented by Patty Snyder with Rich Reed as co-presenter. My name is Elizabeth Feldman, and I will be your webinar moderator for today. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items to let you know how you can participate in today's session. Although we're going to be muting all participants, you do have the ability to ask questions throughout a webinar by using your chat and question pane, which is located near the bottom of the control panel, or by sending your questions via Twitter using the hashtag Emtec HCM hashtag. And I'm going to show you what I mean right now. Okay. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via the control panel or by using the hashtag. Definitely keep them coming over for Patty and Rich. We will review all the questions following today's webinar. And actually, we will be selecting one, naming it the most valuable question of today's webinar. We will notify the winner of that later on today. We're going to be addressing certain questions for you as well at the end of the webinar, and also sharing some additional resources for you to help you move forward with any type of HCM needs you may have. This also includes the new 2015 or Complementary Business Value Optimization Assessment. But please note, if we are unable to get to your question, we will be sure to have someone from our Oracle HCM team follow up with you. Both the slides and the recording from today's presentation will be made available to you to download from our website later today. So today's agenda, what we're going to do is the actual agenda is going to start off with a quick share from Patty and Rich about who they are and who is Emtec. Rich is going to share a little bit about today's HR technology marketplace trends, and Patty's going to provide you with an overview of Oracle HCM, Oracle compensation, as well as her demo and an area about lessons learned. So once again, I appreciate all of you guys for joining our webinar, and with that, I'll turn it over to you, Patty and Rich.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to attend our session. My name is Patty Snyder. I am a consultant in our HCM practice. I have well over 10 years of HRIS experience, including implementations, upgrades, and system support and administration. I've worked in a lot of different HRIS spaces, including PeopleSoft, ADP, and other platforms, as well as the cloud. And I've experienced across a broad base of industries, both local and global. I also have a HR process background and compensation background, as I have 20 years of HR experience functioning as an HR generalist and compensation professional as well. I'd like to now also introduce Rich Reed, our Managing Director of Advisory Services.
Thanks, Patty. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Rich Reed. As Patty mentioned, I'm the Managing Director of Advisory Services. I've got about 25 years of experience in the industry, and a lot of that has been spent in the Oracle arena. So I'm very happy to be here today and looking forward to telling you a little bit about Emtec and then moving into some industry trends around HCM in the marketplace. So we'll start off talking a little bit about Emtec. I think we have a lot of people on the webinar today that are new to Emtec. So I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining a little bit about us and how we do business and how we can help you and your organization. Emtec has actually been around for about 46 years. We have a long history working in the IT space. For the past 20 years, we've really focused very heavily on business solutions, and a lot of that has been with the Oracle product lines. We've got a vast array of consultants that span a lot of different areas of technology, and we really feel that we're the right size company for our customers. We're large enough to take care of a lot of the different aspects of your business, all the way from infrastructure up to management consulting, but we're small enough to actually give you the attention that you deserve and really treat our relationship like a long-term partnership. We've got a few assets that I feel are really important to our customers. First off is our people. Our people are very experienced in the industry. They have an average of 14 years experience. We usually staff our projects with close to 100% of our own people, which means that you as a customer get a very cohesive team that has been there, done that before, and actually cares about your initiatives as well as Emtec's. Very different in the marketplace today. A lot of companies go to market, the job boards light up, and they staff projects with a hodgepodge of team members. That's something that we've really tried to stay away from so that we can actually provide the level of service that you would come to expect from a consulting partner. We're also able to deliver in a lot of different ways. We do have onshore and offshore capabilities, and we also can perform managed services should you need assistance after your projects go live. So that's a little bit about Emtec. I'm actually headquartered out of our Chicago office, and we have a very tight relationship with Oracle as well as a lot of other partners in the industry. But with Oracle particularly, we are a platinum partner, and we are certified in the areas that we're going to be talking with you about today. And we're very happy to have you on this call. Next thing I'd like to talk about, Emtec, is our ability to provide you with enterprise-wide solutions. I think this is another one of our key differentiators. So if we could move to the next slide, please. I'd like to talk quickly about that differentiator, because I think it's something that sets us apart when we go to market. We're very good at providing point solutions, the HCM solutions that you've come to know. We can help you with your talent management needs. We can help you with your recruiting needs. We can help you with your payroll needs, etc. But what we really do that I believe is unique is we provide enterprise solutions that can tie the various point solutions together so that we can bring more value to your organization. So a good example of this is our ability to take information from HR, from the cloud, combine that with information in financial system and business intelligence tools, and provide an enterprise-wide solution, let's say around workforce planning, where we can help you with position management, integrate that into the cloud, take that information, feed it into your workforce planning applications, and then report off of it with business intelligence tools. That would be one example in the HCM space of something that Emtec is good at providing an enterprise solution for. So we're a little bit different in that we do have practices that span all the different pillars of your business, from sales and marketing to HCM to finance to IT. Not only do we help you with those pillar solutions, but we actually can take those and create enterprise solutions out of them. So that's the last piece I wanted to talk about with you related to Emtec. So hopefully that gives you a fairly good picture of who we are and the types of things that we can help you with. We believe that's what we call the power of Emtec, something that is unique in the marketplace from a consulting perspective. Next, I'd like to move to the next slide and talk to you about the HCM landscape. I've got some fun statistics here that are going to help accentuate the changes in the HCM landscape and relate them to trends in the marketplace. So on this slide, you'll see a lot of fun statistics. I'm going to talk about the first few here and try to relate those to some of the trends in the marketplace, and then we'll actually move on to those trends and talk about them in a little more detail. But 70% of U.S. workers today are not engaged or inspired by their work. So engagement is one of the biggest problems that HCM people are facing in today's world. There is a large amount of workers that are not engaged, and through technology we believe we can help engage them and get more inspired to do their jobs. There's a lot of ways in which we can help, but the fact is that the employment landscape is changing. We've got an onslaught of millennials coming into the workforce, and we're finding more and more that the needs of those people, what motivates them and their desires, is really changing the way that we have to do business. So we're going to focus a little bit on that engagement issue and how millennials are affected and how we can bring technology into the picture to help solve some of those problems. There's also a skills gap that is going on. Only 35% of applicants today are actually qualified to do the jobs that they apply for. This is a big problem. This is a big issue that CEOs have noticed and are really putting a lot of thought into is how do we fill that skills gap? How do we get our employees, either internally who work for us today or that we're recruiting, to meet the needs of the organization? And that's a growing trend, and there's actually a lot less people entering the workforce with college degrees than there are jobs for. So not only is there a skills gap, but there's actually a shortage of workers. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I had already mentioned the point of the millennials changing the workforce. One of the interesting statistics that we have on this slide is 20% of workers are more likely to stay at their companies if they're using social media. This is one of those factors that is really driven by millennials. A lot of people don't think of things as simple as social media affecting people's work lives, but in today's world, people are used to using social media. They're used to using Twitter and Facebook and different ways of communicating. So the more connected workers are, the more they enjoy their jobs. And so these are some of the trends that we have to be aware of and that we have to try to solve for our employees if we're going to retain them, because retention is a big issue as well. A staggering statistic that I found that was hard for me to believe when I found it was that 60% of millennials leave a job in less than 3 years. So there's a much higher level of turnover nowadays than there had been in the past. And somehow we've got to figure out a way to retain those people, especially the good people, so that we can have them grow with our business and provide as much value as possible. We also are seeing a large trend towards data-driven HR and analytics. And so what I mean by that is a lot of companies are now realizing that through data, whether it be big data or whether it be data that they have in their systems today, there are a lot of problems that can be solved by looking at that data and using analytics to answer questions to the problems that may arise. And there's a maturity model there. A lot of companies today are probably pretty good from a perspective of reporting and seeing what happened, like what happened in a particular scenario to cause a result. But now they're moving up that maturity model and they're more interested in why it happened, and then at the highest level of that maturity model, actually really trying to be predictive in their insights so that they can say, they can actually solve problems before they occur. And so really the key to analytics is what we call actionable insight. So we want to get to a point with analytics where we can actually take action on the data that we're seeing and help solve problems before they actually arise. The other interesting trend, and we're going to talk about this in more detail as we move forward, is the advent of the cloud. 28% of HR functions, excuse me, 28% of HR functions are delivering to expectations. That means there's a large gap between meeting expectations. If only 28% of HR functions are delivering to meet the expectations of the organization, how do we fill that gap? How do we get our HR organizations to actually adopt new technologies, analytics, things that are going to matter to our CEOs so that we can become more profitable and actually accomplish our goals. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well and dive into a little more around how the cloud can help. So if we can move on to the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit now about the technology marketplace trends and how they will be affecting you. Some of the main trends that we're seeing in the marketplace today at our customers are, number one, that companies are investing in HR transformation. A lot of companies today are saying that, you know what, the HR systems that we have just aren't cutting it. We're not able to recruit the way we want to recruit. We don't have sophisticated talent management and performance systems in place. We don't have social media as part of those solutions. We're very light on our analytic capabilities, and we really need to fix those problems. As it relates to analytics, only 4% of companies today have actually achieved the capabilities they need to adopt analytics in their workforce. So there's a lot of things that we can actually do to help fix those issues. 63% of CEOs today are concerned about the availability of key skills. We talked about that on the last slide. This is a big growing concern and something that is extremely important. So not only do we have to attract and retain the right talent, but we have to train them. We have to keep them engaged in their jobs. We have to put things in place that are going to keep those employees motivated so that they can perform well and provide as much value to the company as possible. So that's leading to HR reinventing itself, and a big component of that is cloud technologies. But what we're seeing in the market is a lot of our customers are really focusing on some key areas within their HR systems to make this happen. Talent and performance management is big right now. Recruiting, social, and analytics are leading the charge. So what we're finding is companies that are focusing on these things and are actually focusing on their employees and their employee retention are finding that they're 30% more profitable than other companies. So before the CEOs and everybody in an organization might have looked at HR as more of a cost center, now they're actually looking at it as, you know what, this can actually impact our profits. And the better we can get at these things, the more profitable we'll become. Next trend that we're seeing in the marketplace is analytics and data-driven HR. So I've already touched upon that. But the key point I took out from that was actionable insights. You want to be able to take actionable insights with your data. So you want to get to a point where you can actually have some analytic capability so that you can solve problems before they happen. And when they do happen, you can really dig in and find out why. So correlating HR data to business performance is key. The more we can do that within our HR systems, the better off we'll be. Predicting things like retention and how learning and engagement will impact the business are the types of things that CEOs are looking for today. Next trend we're seeing is talent as a customer, starting to treat our resources within our organization as our customers. So no longer is it, hey, they're employees, it's, hey, they're our customers. How can we serve them? How can we keep them satisfied in their job? And one of the most important things for people nowadays is actually the culture of the company. So corporate culture is becoming very important. We talked a little bit about millennials so far and how that's changing the workforce, and their needs are different than the generations that went before them. Millennials by 2020 will actually become 50% of the workforce. And millennials don't think like generations of the past. Past generations were thinking, hey, I've got to do better than my parents, and they've got to do better than their parents' parents. And it was all about income and climbing the corporate ladder. Today, things that are important to people are actually not monetary anymore. They're not the same as they used to be. They're actually more of the intangible things like work-life balance. They want to have a purpose in their job. They're very interested in flexibility. They want to be engaged. They want to be empowered. They want to develop their careers and do things that are interested for them. And so how can we as practitioners take those needs, keep our employees happy, and in the end, because they're happy, that's going to benefit the organization. And those are some of the things that HR is focusing on today and why spend is going up in the HR community around business solutions and why the cloud is becoming so important. And then lastly, it's the skills gap. It's getting more and more complex. We've touched upon this quite a bit, but as time goes by, there's a much larger gap between the talent that is needed to run our business and the talent that we actually have at our disposal. So how can we maximize how can we maximize our employees' contributions to the organization? How can we goal set them, provide rewards, do things that are really going to motivate our employees to do what we need them to do to be a good corporate citizen. So those are the trends in the marketplace. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cloud now and why there's a big movement to the cloud and how that can help solve some of these problems. So we've talked about a lot of different things, a lot of different market trends, and clearly, as everybody's seen, there's a lot of talk around the cloud these days. But HR has really embraced and adopted the cloud probably more than most any other business unit in an organization. And why is that? Part of it is because HR historically hasn't got the attention it deserves, and it wasn't always seen as importantly to a company's success as it is nowadays. Nowadays, CEOs are actually understanding how important it is and that it can affect the profits of a company. So cloud-enabled HR systems are really a great way for HR communities to pull together the latest innovations and help drive the business and not have to worry about the same concerns they had historically with on-premise based solutions. Some of the advantages of these systems are it actually takes a lot less people to support it. and it's quicker to implement. The average time to implement a cloud solution nowadays is 8.4 months compared with 14.6 months of traditional on-premise solutions. So we're seeing a trend to move towards this because it involves less of IT's involvement. Obviously, it doesn't involve IT to a significant degree. You never want to box out IT, but we're finding that it's more agile. HR departments can put these systems in much quicker than they had in the past, and it actually takes a lot less effort. So there's really 4 key areas that the cloud is helping solve today with these HR challenges. One is simplicity. You can get a robust, out-of-the-box solution that can handle a lot of the pain points that we've discussed on the previous slides, and it's accessible anywhere. You can access these systems on your mobile device. You can access them on the internet. They're very simple to access. The key feature, and in my viewpoint, the thing that's most important when we're talking about the cloud and why HR is really been such a wonderful adopter of the cloud is the innovation aspect. You have greater business agility and faster time to market. So you can take all these new technologies, these trends, analytics, for instance, built into your applications, the ability to recruit better, the ability to incorporate social media into your day-to-day business processes. All of these things are included in the cloud solution, and as new innovations come out, they're automatically upgraded in those cloud solutions, keeping HR on the forefront of technology and addressing the current market trends as they occur. So the innovation aspect of this is extremely important and very attractive to CHROs. Speed is also a factor because in cloud-based solutions there's actually no customization, it's all configuration. There's no modifications, so the speed to get it up and running and the maintenance is much simpler. And those environments are provisioned immediately when you buy them, so there's no more waiting for procurement of hardware, setup of environments, complex database issues, none of that. That all goes away. And then from an economical perspective, this is extremely important to a lot of companies, is there's a lower total cost of ownership. There's no capital expenditure. It's a month-by-month service fee. And as we had already discussed, there's no costly upgrades. So you still have some work around upgrades, but it's no longer having to do these massive retrofits and having to spend 6 months to a year to do an upgrade. It happens over a weekend. You do your regression testing, and now you're up and running on the latest, greatest software and the best new functionality. So that's some of the excitement around the cloud. Those are some of the market trends that we're seeing in the marketplace. So I hope that was valuable for you. We're trying to keep this portion to a minimum, so I'm going to wrap up my discussion and hand it over to Patty so that you guys can actually see what you came to this webinar for, which was more information on compensation. So thank you very much, and I'll be glad to answer questions during the question and answer period. Patty? Is there, Patty, I can't hear you.
Go ahead, Patty.
Thank you, Rich.
There we go.
The cloud applications Rich was discussing are a key critical success factor in helping organizations navigate these new trends in social media, in social networking, in data-driven decision-making, and in speed to market in terms of having information at the ready fingertips. The cloud applications is a comprehensive, very integrated, and extremely flexible suite of cloud-based HR software. It's integrated functionality within 4 areas: the core HR data, this is your person indicative data; management of workforce, that's job changes, personal data changes, benefits changes; workforce rewards, which includes compensation as well as benefits; and then talent management, which can include recruiting and attracting talent, as well as information around retaining, and rewarding that talent. It is a complete solution, as you can see. It's not all, you don't have to implement every single piece of it. You can implement the pieces that make the most sense for your organization. Maybe you wish to keep your existing system of record for HRIS and payroll. That's totally great. There's a coexistence model that allows you to leverage some of the great functionality within the compensation and or performance management modules, yet maintain your payroll and benefits administration in other areas. There's embedded analytics in these new cloud models, as we'll see in the compensation area. It is social. It is also mobile. It is iPad certified and Android certified for use in terms of data privacy. It is also global. This can be implemented on a local or global scale. I've done implementations with both. So it's a very robust set of tools to help you really become an effective manager of your human capital. Here's a better outline of some of the HR capital management services. There's kind of three areas, kind of base cloud services. I think of this as your functional HR. There's the talent management area, and then there's the Taleo service. Oracle and Taleo had entered a partnership some time ago, and they are in the process of integrating some of the Taleo functionality into some of the Oracle products. I won't go through them all, but as you can see, you can choose to implement any or some of these base applications. Payroll, payroll interface, time and labor, absence management is also included in this, performance management, goal management, as well as succession planning. The talent management service focuses mostly on talent management, including workforce reputation, talent review, performance management, and goal achievement. And then finally, the Taleo Platform Cloud service includes the learning, recruiting, and onboarding cloud. The Taleo performance management, goal management, and succession planning applications are slowly being phased out and integrated into the Oracle Fusion applications. The workforce compensation module now specifically allows users and companies to design compensation programs tailored specifically for global and or local organizations all in one application. No need to gather spreadsheets from maybe your offshore payroll or system of record with compensation data to manage the merit process or the bonus payout process, for example. You can import this data and manage it all in one place. It's extremely flexible in its configuration. As Rich mentioned, it is pretty true with the cloud. You don't customize the code. You actually customize through configuration. It allows for branding. It allows for a strong look and feel to help reinforce your message across the organization. The tool allows for modeling solutions for everyone from compensation administrators, executives, as well as individual managers, if you so choose, so that they have greater insight into what the actual spend is in terms of their compensation dollars. It helps drive that big data, that strong data-driven kind of decision making. It integrates with the Fusion Cloud Performance Management System seamlessly. It also allows for the import of performance ratings from external or other performance management systems through a straightforward, one-time file-based load process. It just depends on what your organization's use of performance management is. It drives the pay for performance. You can configure the compensation decision-making around performance of the organization, performance rating, where a person sits in their salary range. It's very common to use a merit matrix combination that helps provide guidelines around merit increases based on a person's job performance rating as well as where they sit in a salary range. It also allows for, in the same application, total compensation communications. There are two forms of compensation communications delivered: a compensation change statement, which is a configurable template that you can configure in multiple languages and in multiple scenarios, that a manager or a compensation professional can deliver to an individual as soon as the compensation awards are finalized. You can also configure and implement, if you choose, a total compensation statement, which is a much broader picture of the total compensation reward for an individual. It can include not only cash compensation, but other non-cash items such as supplemental vacation, supplemental benefits, We've done implementations where this is used in the executive area. In the past, it's been a very tedious process to create and deliver these to executives. This application allows for configuration in a very quick and straightforward manner, yet allows statements to be generated by individual without all the tedious work. So let's talk about the actual module. It does end-to-end compensation, as the slide says. You can analyze, you can model, you can base budgets, and you can administer, as I said, an unlimited number of plans. We have done configurations where we have administered annual merit pay, Sorry about that. I think our audio system must have stayed up late watching that tremendous Blackhawks win last night and got a little sleepy and dozed off. I'd like to go ahead and continue and talk about more about the module itself and talk about how it drives that pay performance key driver that Rich mentioned earlier. You can drive the compensation calculations based on different factors. If you see in this example here, you can look at an individual's job history and absence history. You can add notes all in one application. No need for a manager or a user to click around and log into 3 or 4 different applications. It's all in one place at one time. And you can differentiate your ratings, and look at analytics by department, by business unit. If you are a higher level manager, you can look across your span of control across your organization. You can analyze how your spends are related to targets set by the teams, a wealth of analytics. And we'll look in the application. All of these worksheet items are downloadable, which I know is a big factor. As an HR professional, I know a lot of managers like to be able to see it and touch it and have it in an Excel format, and this allows for this very, very easily. Extremely flexible configuration. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you can do a lot of what you would formally do code customization in other legacy applications. You can do it here in the configuration model. We can incorporate custom data requirements into your plan. One of the examples at an implementation I worked on, the client had a custom field in their job record indicating a type of bonus program an individual was eligible for, just based on who they are. We were able to configure what's called a flexible, definitive flexible field in the coexistence module and use that field because in our calculations and in driving eligibility. It's very simple to create, model, and roll out the plans and populate target amounts automatically so that managers don't have to do the math or do the guesswork based on complex or simple calculations. Again, it's driven to your business needs. One of the key factors that a lot of our clients that have worked with us love is the eligibility criteria. You can create on the fly eligibility for these plans as well as for components within the plan based on different criteria. Perhaps a certain job level is eligible for a bonus and others aren't. A good example, a real common example, is around the merit increase process. A lot of companies have a process whereby an individual is hired after a certain date. They're not eligible for a merit increase. We can certainly configure this application to ensure those people are not eligible for an increase, but yet show up on the manager's worksheet. I know managers get concerned if they don't see their entire organization. So it's extremely flexible in that, and that can change. You can change eligibility and attach and detach on the fly. And also, this increases the user experience of the line manager. As I indicated earlier, and we'll see in the example, everything is in one place for the manager. Again, they don't have to click around and look 6 different places for data when working through their allocation decisions. I think that our feedback has been very positive. Managers have really enjoyed being able to see this much data and have this much exposure. And it's enhanced meaningful conversations and made the entire merit, performance, total compensation process much more meaningful and successful at the organizations we've worked with. Here's an example of one of the flexible configuration examples. As a compensation professional, you can configure custom alerts that keep managers from hurting themselves. That's kind of the nice way I like to put it. You can configure them so that, for example, if an individual does not have a performance rating, they cannot get a merit increase. That's a pretty common process rule in a lot of organizations. It's very straightforward to configure this so that a manager can go in and certainly try to give an individual an increase and not meet the rules, but then they are prevented from saving or submitting their worksheets. You can also configure these alerts to be informational. Oh, hey, by the way, did you know that you're giving an increase over the recommended guideline? That might be all right in your organization, but it's good to let the manager know. Very flexible, and you can adjust these alerts as well. You'll notice in this other corner here that there's a way to configure the budget so that it decrements, and the managers can actually look at their spend and see where they are in terms of their overall compensation budget management. Very flexible. This is an example of the compensation change statement I mentioned earlier. It's one of the 2 compensation tools that's delivered within the module. This is actually configured as part of the compensation plan. It is a template-driven application. You simply insert fields from the configured plan. You can brand it with your company logos. This is where a lot of the change management, the messaging can occur. It's free-form text. You can put in whatever text makes sense for your organization and drive what you want to communicate in terms of compensation change management delivery. And then the total compensation statement, as I mentioned earlier, is a much more robust compensation review. It's access to changes in a single view. And as I mentioned, it's not limited base pay. You can include stock grants if an individual is eligible for those, incentives, additional benefits, maybe an executive physical, maybe executives get extra vacation. Those can all be configured as elements and included in a statement. It visually informs employees on the total value, and it drives, again, the retention aspect. If you can show an employee that, gee, you're really worth a lot to us, and this is how we show this, it's a very valuable tool. This also can be delivered online as well as generated by individuals who receive this statement so they can print it out and take it to, say, a financial planner, for example. It's had very good success with this. It is not as labor-intensive as a manual Excel, Word document process, and it's configurable on the fly. Okay, with that, I'd like to take a break and go into the application and show you a couple of features of the application.
And before we do that, while she gets set up here, I'm going to launch a quick poll for you guys. So how is your HCM organization strategy for the cloud? If you can take just a couple of seconds to just quickly answer one of those options as she gets set up in the demo. Okay, just a couple more seconds. All right, we appreciate your efforts, and here is Patty to continue with her demo.
Hello again. Here we are in the application itself. I've actually set up a sample plan, and I'd like to walk you through a few of the key features and kind of give you a flavor for what it looks and feels like for a user to use. I'd like to go ahead and do a quick review of what a compensation professional might look at in terms of managing and setting up plans. You notice we have several different plans set up here. A nice feature is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you set up a plan. These do take some time to configure. There's a lovely duplication function that lets you duplicate a plan and then just change what you need to change as you go forward. As you can see here, we have various types of plans in here. There's an unlimited number of plans that you can create and manage. I'm going to go into one and just show you real quickly the different kinds of configuration options. These are all configuration-based decisions. This does not require a developer or a technical person to create and manage these. You determine cycles, for example, based on your compensation planning calendar. You can drive when a manager sees the worksheets and when they go away. You can drive effective dates of the pay changes, for example. You can drive a due date. However, it does not enforce the due date. It's just a piece of information. Unfortunately, it does not make the manager go in and do the worksheet by the due date, unfortunately. But again, these are all driven by configuration, very easy, as you can see, to change. And they can be changed on the fly. You can configure your budgets. You can configure what they call components. Maybe you want to put everything in one plan. And in this plan, they decided to have what's called a merit component and a bonus component. And you can choose whether or not they're enabled, and you can also choose who's eligible for these components. So you can do if you had the rule here around merit, if nobody hired, say, after October 1st was due for a merit, you could put that eligibility profile in here. It's up to you if you want to show them on the worksheet or not. It's been my experience, most users want to see their entire span of control, irrespective of their eligibility. Doesn't matter. They just want to see, this person reports to me, I need to see them on my worksheet. Gives them a comfort level that the data is accurate and correct. Change statements, as I mentioned, these are templates, and you can drive when they can see them, and you can enable them or disable them based on your communications needs. And then this is where we spend a great deal of time. This is where you can actually configure, well, I'll show you in a minute, what the worksheet actually looks like. The order of the fields. This is where the rules around what gets populated in those fields happens. It's very, very robust. We can put complex calculations in here. Many companies use a merit matrix. This is where we configure that matrix. And you can also do these in multiple currencies. So again, very robust configuration capability and very flexible. This is where you can allow a manager to see reports on their actual screen. If you don't want them to see any of these reports, or maybe, for example, your comp ratio calculation is not a standard comp ratio calculation. Some companies have that. You can uncheck any reports due with comp ratios, and they don't see them. No confusion. There is built-in functionality that calculates comp ratio and quartile placement based on a standard 3-tier salary grade, min, mid, and max. So that is built in. But if that's not something your organization uses, we can work through that, again, through configuration. So extremely robust, can change on the fly. Once you get one set up, you can certainly clone it and adjust it for other needs your organization may have. I'd like to move now and show you more of what a manager sees. This individual I'm logged in as happens to have multiple rows. This individual is a compensation professional as well as a manager themselves. One feature that a recent implementation really found helpful from their old legacy system is that as a compensation professional with the correct access, you can actually view different managers' worksheets without having to log in as that manager by acting as the proxy manager. The individual I'm logged in is this individual. She wishes to see the merit worksheet for This happens to be her boss, this individual. It's very straightforward functionality. You do not have to change passwords, change logins. You simply just can go in and view the worksheet. A couple of things I'd like to point out here before I actually go into the worksheet. This individual has direct reports that have direct reports. So this shows you that there's a span of control, and you can click on the team. And this actually gives you some really nice analytics as to who's done what in the system. You want to keep track of that. So let me click on the plan itself. And show you what this manager can see. This manager has 2 direct reports, but this manager, as we noticed earlier, does have a larger span of control. It's very simple to change the view so that the manager can view his or her entire span of control. And then this manager can control how many rows they wish to see. It's kind of a long scroll. It gets longer if they have more and more people. And they can go through, they can see their total budgets. They can see what their budget availability is. They can click on that. Anything that's blue can be clicked on. Talks about what we haven't spent anything, so there's nothing in there. There's no percentage that they've spent yet. So we haven't spent anything yet. They can open up these components and look at different statistics. Again, going to Rich's point about data-driven analytics. There's a lot of data built in here already. They can see where they're at. They can see if they have alerts for their employees. Many, many, many choices. It's pretty straightforward. If I want to give this person an increase, the manager simply just can, if they want, they can just type in an amount. We've got it configured to show that that merit amount automatically populates. There is a merit target configured in this plan, and if you notice, as soon as I put in an amount, this alert opened up and it said, oh, Carrie, your merit allocation exceeded target. Now, that's okay. That's okay for this organization. She'll be allowed to submit that and move forward. And if we go scroll up a little bit higher, open up my summary here. There we go. Now you can see that her budget spend has also decremented and said, oh, she spent a couple $1,000s, so this is what her available budget is left. So they could go through and make these decisions. Another feature that a lot of implementers really have found useful is the ability for a manager, if you let them, download this information into a spreadsheet. You do have to load something into the application. A manager could download, especially if they have a large number of people, into a spreadsheet, do stuff with the merit amounts, move them around, and when they're completed, they can upload it back into this system. That is a choice. You don't have to set it up that way. I've seen it done both ways. It just depends on your business process. This also allows manager to download their spreadsheet into an Excel spreadsheet to just keep and save to do what they wish to do with. So again, very flexible. You can have up to 10 tabs across the scroll. You'll notice that this scroll area can be rather long. There's a lot of data you have to think about when making an allocation decision. Most companies that I've worked with have tended to sort it out kind of by the components. So maybe we have the merit as one tab. In this situation, they've got the promotion information in a separate tab. And they have different items in this tab. This is a job history tab. Perhaps I want to promote Colleen, and I just kind of want to see what her history has been. What has she done in the past? An absence history if you manage absences through this application, and so on. You can select the job you're proposing them for and the grade, and if there's a raise that goes with that, you can insert this in here as well. Again, extremely robust. Here's your approval. This manager does have direct reports that have direct reports, and this is where he or she can manage their approvals. The approval process is pretty standard. If you are a PeopleSoft user, it's not unlike the 2-level manager as it comes delivered approval process that's used in the PeopleSoft workflow. Again, this is very similar in here. We could certainly talk about what your needs would be around different approval configurations. And then finally, there's a Communicate tab in this particular configuration. And this is where you would generate the compensation change statement we showed earlier. This tab can be hidden until you are ready for managers to be able to prepare and distribute these, by the way, as well, even in the middle of a compensation cycle. And then finally, over here on the right-hand side, excuse me, all the way out of her plan, Carrie, I want to show you delivered reports that a manager can view as soon as This is the model. They can manage their budget. They can do some what-if analysis in here if they wanted to. Kind of go in and change money around and see how they might want to spend their money. Down here are then reports that they can open and run, based again on what you've allowed in the configuration. It allows for drill down. There's an overview. They can compare groups, especially useful for a higher level executive who might need to compare Department A to Department B across their span of control. This blue area is the drill down. You can look at the different workers and see how much has been allocated. So again, extremely robust, strong analytical data available for managers. I think that's about all I can show you at this point in the interest of time and making sure we have time for questions. If you want to go ahead and launch your other poll, we can go into lessons learned after we're done with the second.
Perfect. All right. If you want to get situated, I'm going to launch the second poll. The question is, how complex has executive compensation actually become within your organization? You can take a couple of seconds and feel free to enter, select one response while Patty gets situated over here. Okay, I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds. All right, guys, thank you. Very, very appreciative. Here we go, Patty. Are you good to go?
I am. So to wrap up, I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about the lessons learned over our implementations. They're extremely helpful and will be extremely helpful going forward. One of the big ones is really prepare for this with data cleanup and conversion. If an organization chooses to implement the compensation tool in what we call a coexistence environment, they bring in only key pieces of data into the Fusion module. Setting up that initial data conversion load is critical, and understanding your data will be important as we map and load this data. There's a very flexible tool that loads the data in one shot, but understanding the nature of your data is important. Identify any cleanup. This is just good data management no matter what system you're using. If you have a process that requires that everybody be assigned a salary grade, ensure that everybody in your system has a salary grade, for example, those kinds of things. Ensure proper verification and audit of data. Are the right people in the right place? Is this correct data? And is it timely data? The SaaS application, as Rich said, leverages best practices, and then you don't have code, so it doesn't manage a lot of exceptions. However, we can certainly walk through a business process and work through configuration to try to manage those. It's important that we clearly identify all business requirements for the process that you're using the tool for, and include all the stakeholders, not just the HR and comp teams, but executives, and especially when it comes to reporting. Can't stress this enough. You need to allow a lot of adequate time for the prototyping and testing. That configuration I showed you is terrific. It's wonderful. You get it configured, but there's a lot of trial and error. You have to go in and look at it. What does it look like? Is the scroll too long? Does this belong in a different field? Do these alerts make sense? So it's critical to allow enough time to make sure that this tool meets all your business needs and provides for a robust end-user experience. It is widely viewed. It's one of the most, everybody sees compensation. And then finally, the change management is critical. And it's not necessarily the technical change management, but the intangible, why are we doing this change management? How do I use this tool? When do I use this tool? Who sees what? So all lessons learned, and from that we've become more robust and stronger in our implementation skills. And with that, I think we can open it up to any questions.
And as a reminder, everybody, please feel free to enter your question in the right-hand navigation panel. And obviously, in the interest of your time, we will follow up with you direct if we cannot accommodate your question this morning. So let's open this up. We've had a few that have come in throughout the presentation. And this one, it looks like, I believe, Rich, this might be for you. And they apologize because they said you may have covered it, but they popped into the webinar a little bit late. So the question is, can cloud compensation be used for compensation other than merit increases? Can it be used, for example, to manage bonus payouts? I'm not sure if this is for you, Rich, or Patty. Do you want to go ahead and take that?
Sure, I'll take that. Absolutely. It can be used for any kinds of compensation that are paid out to an individual. It's not limited to just merit.
Thank you. All right. The other question is, do we have to implement an entirely new HRIS system, in order to use cloud compensation?
And the answer to that is no. As I mentioned, there is something called the coexistence environment, where certain data elements do need to be imported into the cloud module so that the compensation system can use those data elements. But you could keep a separate system as your system of truth or system of record for payroll and tax reporting and such.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd like to add to that a little bit, if I could. With Oracle's cloud applications, they all can be implemented in what they call the coexistence model. So you can actually implement just talent management or just compensation or just recruiting and onboarding, which is kind of unique in the market right now. If you look at products like Workday, it's all or nothing. With Oracle, they've designed it in such a way that you can actually keep your original source system, whatever it may be. Let's say it's PeopleSoft for core HR, and then you can add on the cloud applications such as compensation in what we call a coexistence model. And so it's very flexible, and you have a lot of options in how you can implement.
Okay, thanks, Rich. All right, another question we have here, and as a reminder, we will be going through these questions later on, and the team will determine which one was the most valuable question of the webinar today. We'll notify the winner later on, and that winner will receive a $25 gift certificate of their choice. So I appreciate the question so far. The other question that came in is, can corporate branding be used throughout the application? Can our logo appear? Is it easily changed? And can it actually appear on change statements?
The short answer is yes, quite happily, and it's a fairly straightforward process to brand all of the application and documents coming out of the application with your corporate logo and any other messaging you wish to convey.
Perfect. Okay, we'll give it another minute for questions. And as a reminder, the webinar and the presentation slides and recordings will both be made available for you guys on our website later on, and we can also send them out to you individually if you would prefer. It looks like it's just about to the top of the hour, and I believe this concludes all of the questions. Again, we really appreciate the time that you guys took to join us today, and we apologize for the slight audio issue. But we appreciate your time, and we look forward to connecting with you in the future on any of our additional resources. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.